What's up, you guys? My name is DangerDoug, and today we're going to be covering a very crazy anime here and there. Probably one of the craziest ones I've seen in a very long time. And yeah, this is a big one. Buckle up for this one. Yes, no, that's right. We're going to be covering Happy Sugar Life, and yeah, this one is a little bit much at times. For those of you guys who may not be familiar with Happy Sugar Life, it hasn't really made its way into mainstream culture in the United States and Canada and whatnot, although several people have definitely seen it for sure. This one is one that covers a whole lot of subject matter that a lot of viewers probably wouldn't be okay with. And of course, some of the subject matter that I'm talking about that is definitely not for the faint of heart in this one, and some of those subjects involve rape, incest, pedophilia, alcohol abuse, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, forced marriages, arson, murder, all of that. And that's just Tuesday for this anime. Happy Sugar Life is a 12-episode psychological horror and thriller anime that was adapted from the manga series written by Tomoyaki Kagesura, and it was released for television around 2018, about 3 years ago. The show has been licensed by Amazon Video and is available for streaming on that platform, although I will personally admit that I watched on YouTube over there for the first time that I saw it. Another weird bit of interesting trivia that I also found in this particular series is that the manga for Happy Sugar Life was actually published by Square Enix, which, as a lot of you guys would also know, happened to be the producers of one series called Final Fantasy. One anime that actually does strike me as probably being fairly similar to this one is, let's say, Future Diary, which is one I would consider here and there to be a yandere anime. Now again, with characters like Yuno Gasai, who's just doing anything for her man Yuki and everything, while also having some crazy murderous intentions here and there in order to try to keep anybody away from him, we have one character that's going to be coming up when we cover our main section that is fairly similar to her. And again, I'm all about horror and thriller animes. I absolutely love that shit and all the good stuff. But even this one I found to be supremely disturbing. So that being said, let's actually start by talking about a lot of our main characters in the story and see exactly where we go with this one. Let's check them out. Now, of course, the first character before anybody else that we have to talk about is going to be Sato Matsusaka, and yes, of course, she's going to be absolutely crazy. Now, Sato, for all intents and purposes, is absolutely beautiful. She's somebody who looks like she's got all her shit together, she's very good in school, has a couple of jobs on the side here and there to support herself for the most part, but she has a dark secret that nobody ever would have guessed. She currently has, in her care, a child that is not related to her at all. Now, she finds one of the other characters, Shio, just basically abandoned by her mother here and there and just with nobody else to actually care for her, so she takes her in, but the problem is that she's fallen in love with her. Yeah, she has. Huh? First question that's gonna come up is, okay, where's Sato's parents and everything? I mean, how could their daughter be living with a child here and there and falling in love and whatnot? We find out later that the parents have died and that she's now under the care of her aunt, who actually, we found out, is actually a sex addict who brings guys home and stuff, to which Sato is actually kind of just not very okay with, so she seeks a little bit of asylum with a guy here and there who happens to be an artist on one particular rainy day, but as we find out later, he contracts her here and there to actually being his model, to which she finds Shio on the street, who's been abandoned by her mother, and as soon as she brings him home over to this artist, the artist is not cool with that here and there because her personality has changed, and yeah, she decides to kill him basically right after he decides that he wants to try to kill Shio in order to get Sato's personality back to where it was when she was modeling for him. Holy shit, that's a lot to take in, but still, oh my god. We see throughout the series that Sato is basically willing to do anything in order to ensure that the two of them, her and Shio, have absolutely the best life possible in their little apartment. So then we move on to our next main character, who happens to be our child in the situation, who is Shio Kobe, and yeah, her story is absolutely tragic. Her father basically forced himself on her mother back when they were two teenagers and whatnot, and again got pregnant here and there with Asahi, and essentially forced into marrying each other. To which her father becomes an alcohol abuser here and there who comes home and just absolutely commits all sorts of different abuses against the mother and also her older brother here and there as well, and yeah, not a good start at all. It's terrible, it's absolutely tragic, and whenever you see those episodes, yeah, that makes me very uncomfortable. The mother just wants to ensure a really good life for her daughter and whatnot, and she comes to the realization here and there one day that maybe the best possible course of action is to just abandon her outright, and maybe, hopefully, somebody will take care of her at that point. So after being abandoned by her mother, she was essentially just kind of distorted a whole lot of memories of her mother, where she's just trying to repress a lot of these bad memories, and trying to kind of retain a whole lot of sense of innocence from way back when. And it's okay, at least at first for her, but you could tell there's major problems that are underlying here and there in this situation. So again, as Sato finds her and takes her in here and there, Shio comes up with this distorted sense of love and reality here and there as well, to where they try to promise here and there to be with each other forever and ever. But at the same time, there's so many different problems that come up about this, and it's just absolutely crazy. One of the biggest problems that comes into the picture is the next main character, who is Asahi Kobe, and that is Shio's older brother. Now, Asahi's had so many different roles here and there with the father and mother here and there about how they can establish a good life with each other. He basically hates his dad for the most part, and rightfully so, but he tries to actually go out and find Shio here and there, as he is just taken to the streets, is kind of homeless for the most part, and is just kind of like on the lookout for here and there for his sister. He does come across her eventually, but that becomes a problem for Sato, who essentially does not want anything to inhibit anything that's going on with her happy new life. As this problem does come up here and there throughout the show here and there, we find out that Asahi's also fallen in love a little bit with Shoko, who just happens to be Sato's best friend at the time. We see that there's like little plotting in the background here and there of them trying to see if they can get Shio over here back to where her mother is. So as we see Asahi try like his damnedest to try to get Shio back, we see that Sato tries to employ the services of one of her friends here and there, whom she also works with over here at one of the restaurants, whose name is Taiyo Mitsuboshi. Now, Taiyo is a character that starts out normal. He does start out normal, but in the first episode, the manager of the restaurant just happens to sexually abuse him, and it essentially gives him PTSD and scars him for life at that point. Even Taiyo, in his case and whatnot, he's still feeling the effects of this PTSD and all the kinds of crazy stuff from his abuse and whatnot, but when he discovers Shio and whatnot and her innocence and basically cheerful personality, he declares her as an angel here and there in his mind, and decides to go crazy a little bit here and there in his own mind and start plastering pictures of her all over his walls in his bedroom. Yeah, kinda crazy much. Now, Sato uses this obsession here and there of Shio that Taiyo has to great effect here and there by trying to contract him into getting Asahi out of town here and there, under the promise that she would let him see Shio again at some point. And being as crazy as he is here and there, he's just willing to go along with it and stuff, at least for the time being. But yeah, again, it's much. At a lot of times. And last of our main casts I want to talk about is actually Shoko Hida, who just happens to be Sato's best friend at the time. Now again, of the entire cast, Shoko is actually probably the most normal person out of all of them, at least at the start, until things start happening. And what ends up starts happening is she starts to investigate a lot of the mysterious stuff that's going on with Sato. And as she gets involved, it ends up being not so good for her, and I won't spoil it for you, but at the same time, this series does not have a happy ending. And now, let's talk about the plot and the storyline of Happy Sugar Life. So again, as I mentioned beforehand, essentially Sato Matsuzaka finds Shio, who's been abandoned by her mother, and immediately falls in love with her for the most part. She takes her home and tries to make sure that they can kind of build a whole new life for each other and stuff. Essentially just kind of free of all the adults that are very much abusers here and there around town. And again, these ladies are surrounded by a world that is full of absolutely terrible human beings. Sato essentially vows to do anything that she possibly can in order to ensure this happy life for each other, but it leads them down some very crazy paths that there's no turning back from. And again, you get a lot of different characters here and there that come up over here in several of the different episodes, including a lot of the teachers, the manager of the restaurant, who commit abuses that are absolutely unspeakable. And all the while, Sato is just kind of mitigating all the different abusive adults in their lives and trying to ensure that happy life with Shio, but at the same time, this is crimes upon crimes upon crimes upon crimes. And it seems like nothing, absolutely nothing, is good with the world, except for that one voice of reason, Shoko, who's in Sato's life as her best friend. But again, Shoko throughout time here and there has noticed a major change in Sato's behavior here and there, and that she's trying to hide something. As a friend, you know when your friends are trying to hide something, and it's something that is just absolutely crazy here and there, but at the same time, she notices some things start to change within her. So upon further investigation, as she finds that Shio, one of the girls, has actually gone missing and that people are looking for her, she finds out that Sato's actually the one who's been housing her pretty much this entire time, and that they've actually fallen in love with each other. Now again, I won't spoil it for you guys and all of the crazy stuff, but at the same time, this series covers so many abusive stories here and there from so many different adults and also the kids as well. A lot of damaged people. There are so many damaged people in this particular anime. It's just absolutely ridiculous. and it doesn't end up very well. But at the same time, is it a story worth talking about? I believe that it is. An anime like this only comes around every once in a while, and it covers a crazy amount of topics here and there that a lot of different shows just don't want to tread. This show seems to cover every single one and throws it into like a big huge kitchen sink that absolutely sucker punches you in the face. So let me go over the production quality and the soundtrack before we get to my final conclusion with this particular anime. The soundtrack to this anime does its job for the most part. Is it anything that I kind of remember here and there? No, but at the same time, it does its job for like creating the atmosphere of that very eerie type of nature that is necessary for something like this. However, did want to talk a little bit about the production quality of this particular anime, and the biggest reason why I wanted to like highlight a little bit with this section is because there's a lot to this particular anime that I really did enjoy. Thinking back to my time around college and whatnot, there was one class I did take over here for music and multimedia, and during that class we actually looked at a couple of different examples here and there from the high art worlds, in which several different art studios would actually kind of put out some of their own pieces that would actually like highlight certain moods here and there. But this is one thing that I wanted to mention for this particular anime. Some of the concept art films I used to watch here and there in college, and again, these were small films here and there that were barely like about 5 or 10 minutes long, used to deal with different emotions here and there, where you get something that was filmed specifically for the purpose of showing depression or anxiety or fear or some other kind of emotion and whatnot. Those types of pieces made it into this anime here and there in several different pockets, and especially so for one that I actually particularly like to point out in episode 8. Episode 8 actually takes the perspective of an artist here and there who is living inside an apartment, to which Sato eventually appropriates, but you never ever see the guy. You just see like different sound waves here and there, and you don't even hear his voice, but rather you just hear some sort of like static in the background whenever he's talking, and the only assumptions that you actually get to see, as far as the conversation is concerned, is however Sato responds to him. Now, of course, as his emotions get a little bit more erratic and irregular, you start to see a lot of these sound waves just actually start to bounce off in different directions here and there as he's getting a lot more irate or a little bit more calm here and there, but at the same time, it really takes a look here and there as to the high art styles here and there from different concept pieces, but it does get repeated here and there in different pockets here and there throughout the rest of the show. So as a special nod to the production studio, dude, you guys have my absolute thanks and definite appreciation for this one. But for all of you guys out there, if you're gonna watch this anime, which some of you may or may not decide to do, just know that it coming from like an artistic side of perspective and whatnot, it does have a lot of different things as far as trying to depict human emotion, which I believe the show does exceedingly well. And with that being said, here's my conclusion to Happy Sugar Life. After going through the craziness that is Happy Sugar Life and getting super uncomfortable, but at the same time relishing in the fact that it is a psychological horror and yandere anime, I award this show with a score of 4.2 out of 5, recommending that you guys buy this for your collection, if and only if you're a true crime, psychological horror, thriller type of person or something like that. A lot of people are going to be turned off by the heavy subject matter, especially with a lot of the stuff with dealing with trauma and past experiences, and I totally get that. I really do. So if anything, just know for me, this show is not for everybody, and definitely don't watch it if you're like under 17 or something like that, just because, yeah, it gets much, even for me sometimes. But at the same time, it does bring up a whole lot of different topics here and there that many anime, not only just anime, but different movies in American media or TV shows in American, British, or Canadian media are just not willing to go. And does it take a lot of the worst parts of humanity and just throws it right at you like in your face? Yes, it does, and it condenses it into a 12 episodes crazy anime for sure. But at the same time, is it worth the watch? I believe that it is, especially so if you're a fan of horror genre. And with that being said, that's my review of Happy Sugar Life. Don't forget to leave this video a like and hit that subscribe button and check out some of our other anime reviews over here too as well. And we will see you guys soon in the next one. Bye.